Well, good morning and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. 10 o'clock a.m. on May 6th. It is a Wednesday. We've hit that midway point of the week. It's been a busy one already. We expect plenty of more news today, through which we will be guided by super producer Sarah Calloway, who is here in the studio. She said we have lots of time this morning, do whatever we want, go wherever we want, but I am going to keep us on the rails. And the best way to keep a show on the rails is to bring Craig Moeller onto it. Meteorologist Craig Moeller in the house. Craig, what are we working with today?
So today we've got increasing clouds, a chance for a few stray showers. We'll see some rain tomorrow. Sarah, back to you. I promised her I would keep it tight. I'm kidding. We're going to have a little more discussion on this. All of a sudden, she just broke into a flop sweat. You got a comment?
I appreciate the dedication, but
You want a little more forecast information. All right. So here's the deal. I do want you to take a look at the forecast for today. We started off with some sunshine. It was okay. Clouds have been rolling in, and they're going to thicken up. I do think we could get a little bit of rain today off to the north and west. We talked about this yesterday and the day before. It's been in the forecast north and west. We're not going to see much across Hampton Roads. Take a look at our rain chances, though. Later tonight and tomorrow, more significant rain. This is what I'm really excited about, because this is the type of rain that can put a little dent in our deficit. Right now, we are 5.18 inches below average for rainfall. We need the rain. You see this stuff lining up out to the west. I mean, we've got some pretty good expanded coverage here as far as the rain all the way from the northeast U.S. back down through Tennessee. You can see this is a new thing, a new feature, a thunderstorm watch across south central portions of Texas. So a couple of thunderstorm warnings there a bit earlier. Now we're going to take a look at Hampton Roads. This frontal boundary that you see here just off to the north, right in this area here. Let me get my pointer so I can show you. This thing is going to move through our area. It's going to bring with it good chances for rain tonight into tomorrow morning. I expect to be very busy on daybreak tracking a wet Thursday morning commute. Right now, these areas up around Tappahannock, a little bit of wet weather up that way, very light activity. I-95 north of Richmond dealing with rain right now. They will welcome it. They're in severe drought up there. They need that rain. You can see the Richmond area down through Petersburg, some light to moderate showers showing up around Chester, and even a few sprinkles here for Williamsburg back down through Isle of Wight and back around Suffolk as well. Now, this heavier rain as it works east is going to kind of weaken, and we're not going to see a lot of rain today. You'll want to keep an umbrella with you just to keep yourself covered. But there is one part of the country we are very concerned with, and that is the southeast U.S. I'm going to talk more about the severe weather outlook for that part of the country coming up. Just know that they are set up for some rough weather, and I do think they're going to see not only strong storms but potential tornadoes. As I mentioned, we'll have more on that in just a bit. Sarah, I want to get into our future cast very quickly. We'll take a look at what's going to happen overnight and into tomorrow. So as we start off again, showers off to the west. You see that on the future cast. As we come in, temperatures today are going to warm up. We'll be above average in the upper 70s to low 80s across the region. Notice how those showers weaken and kind of fall apart as they move to the east. They are going to eventually kind of fizzle out. We'll be dry for early this evening, and then past midnight, look at this. Back off to the northwest, we have more rain starting to fill in, and tomorrow morning, there you go. We have those pockets of rain, moderate to heavier. That's going to be with us at 7 a.m., widespread through noon. Still good chances for rain. This is the kind of soaking rain we need to put a dent in that rainfall deficit. And then by tomorrow night, we clear it back out. Friday looks great, mostly sunny. We're going to see temperatures cooler on Friday. But again, we need that rain, and the payoff, again, is that we get it, and then we cool it down and clear it out for Friday. Saturday and Sunday, some more chances kind of hit and miss. Now, as far as the rainfall projection go, this is an updated future cast with the graph model. 1 to 2 inches expected around Norfolk, back down around Elizabeth City and Edenton, Kill Level Hills, maybe a half an inch to an inch in Virginia Beach, down across Chesapeake as well. But the potential is there. And again, those rainfall projections, it's so key to take a look and see the potential. So we do not at this point have a fire danger. That is certainly good news. With the rain, that has diminished. So the rainfall projections with those models calling for anywhere from a half an inch to about an inch and a quarter. As we go, that'll be mostly tomorrow morning. Highs today near 81. Increasing clouds, few showers possible. Tonight, rain developing late, maybe a couple storms in the mix. And then tomorrow, periods of rain, 65. And we are going to find the temperatures coming back up Friday, mostly sunny and 70, upper 70s Saturday. And a chance for showers late on Sunday. I'll say Saturday afternoon, kind of hit and miss. Not a big deal there. That won't be heavy. But late Sunday, most of Mother's Day, beautiful, mostly sunny. But by Sunday evening into Monday, that's when we'll see another round of needed rain. So it looks like we've got some good stuff to look forward to and that rain that we also need.
And we've been having all these sort of mini soft rains that didn't really do a whole lot to alleviate the drought. We finally might get some meaningful rain, and on a very meaningful day, Mother's Day. But you still have all morning and afternoon to go do an outdoor brunch or something.
The heaviest rain comes through late tonight and early tomorrow. That'll be the soaker. The stuff that comes in Sunday night into Monday, another round. Hopefully, maybe we get another quarter inch or something like that at that point. All of this chipping into this rainfall deficit.
Okay, it's a team effort, just various rainfalls contributing to helping with the drought conditions. Now, we are going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News. When we come back, snow? Did somebody say snow? Not here, but there is snow. We're going to dive into that when we return. Well, welcome back to Live Impact News. We're going to continue with the forecast. Whilst in break, we missed a description of Craig's diet. There's a mystery afoot about a certain computer in the weather lab, and we've got snow in the United States here. Craig.
Yeah, wild morning shaping up. Not that anybody cares about why the computer was jumping around, but it was. We've got it hammered out now. Let's get into where it is snowing. And how about this? Have you ever been to the Red Rocks Amphitheater?
I have not. I've been to, is it in Boulder or Denver?
No, it's just west of Denver.
Just
Morrison,
west of Denver.
Colorado.
I went to Denver, and there was people were talking about it as if it was this pilgrimage that needed to happen, but I haven't been.
I've had friends that have gone out there a few times. They love the shows out there. Folks that went to check out a DJ yesterday for a show were hit with snow at the theater, and you know what? They're Coloradans. They're like, hey, we're good.
I bet you it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. So that's a look at snow from Estes Park that is up there. This is so needed, Connor. Let me tell you, I was amazed. And Sarah, you pulled the information. I did not actually research this, so I thought it was super cool that you were able to find this. Denver, we talk about Norfolk having a 5-inch rainfall deficit. Colorado, in Denver specifically, they are 20 inches below normal for snowfall. Think about that.
On the year?
On the year.
On 2026?
Through this winter season.
Wow.
Okay? So you go, okay, well, that sounds really dramatic. If you think about it, all right, at a 10-to-1 ratio, you get 20 inches of snow. That would be equivalent to how much water? Anybody got quick math?
20 inches of snow is equivalent to 3 inches of water.
No.
Darn it.
10-to-1 ratio would be about 2 inches.
Oh, I thought if I said it confidently,
That's
it would
okay.
work.
Are we good?
We are having some
we're hearing
slight
something from our
technical
director of
difficulties
technology.
here.
What's going on, Sarah?
Do we need to go to break here?
Yeah, we have to restart because
Okay,
we're having sorry for the
slight-
audio issues.
Slight technical difficulties. Our audience likely has been hearing this the whole time. We've just gotten word there's audio issues. We're going to get those fixed up for you. We will be right back.
Testing. That worked.
Okay, is it
Can you hit play real quick? That sounds better. It was fine. I was in here at 8:30.
Okay. Yeah, she's here. Check everything. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. That's a little better, isn't it? Sorry about that, everybody. We had some audio issues. They seem to be fixed up. And so we're going to jump right back into this forecast. Extreme weather across the country. Craig Muller's still here. Craig, what are we seeing?
Check 2, 3, 4, 5. Sarah, do you have me? Check 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good.
I got the thumbs up.
All right. So listen, we do need to talk about this. Couple of things going on. All right. We mentioned the potential for more snow back across Colorado. We were talking about that earlier. They are under winter storm warning right now. They're going to get several more inches of snow. And as I was saying, I know we had some audio issues. They have a 20-inch snowfall deficit for the season in Denver going into this event. So the snow that they're getting now is actually a huge blessing. It has impacted travel to some degree. I can tell you rain was extending across Kansas. They had some rain north of St. Louis. That's good news that rain is no longer an issue there across St. Louis, because yesterday they actually had to postpone the St. Louis Cardinals-Milwaukee Brewers game. They had heavy rain last night. And guess what, Sarah? Just like we had audio issues, my computer is locked up. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to reset this, but I'm going to tell you something. What you need to know about the wet weather potentially down across the Deep South. We have the potential for severe storms. And as we take a look at Tennessee, back into northern portions of Alabama and Georgia, we've got some heavy rain there. The potential is there for severe storms, and we are going to see more and more of that. Memphis right now under a flood advisory. You can see that heavy rain extending from just south of Memphis in both directions, east and west. They've got that area of rain. And then severe storms down there with a thunderstorm watch. Those two cells have been rolling across Texas. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings down there. I'll just go ahead and give you some quick information. These are not highly populated areas, but they do have these strong storms. That warning there with for Llano County, about 10,000 people under that one. Again, there's a severe thunderstorm watch, which includes Austin, Cedar Park, and Round Rock, some of the different areas. Another warning just out to the west of that. So what about later today? This is what I'm most concerned with. I want you to know there is a level 3 threat for severe storms down across portions of northeastern Louisiana, central Mississippi, and central Alabama. And look at the tornado threat here, Connor. This is the real deal. When you get that third tier of elevated tornado risk, you look for numerous tornadoes to spin up. Now, will it be an outbreak? Hopefully not a major outbreak, but there is some outbreak potential. And some of these tornadoes with them, that hashed area, EF2 or greater potentially. So places down around Jackson and back over towards, again, the northeast part of Louisiana. Then you extend back over north of Montgomery. You've got that area where 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point there. That is a high risk. You know, you get into that, you need to be prepared to, deal with tornadoes in that area. In addition, there could be some large hail for that part of the country as well, and then wind, kind of a broader area. And I wanted to show you this because if you think about it, we've got the potential for some gusty winds all the way up through Charlotte. Air travel from here in Hampton Roads, if you're flying Delta, chances are a lot of the flights out of Norfolk connect through Atlanta. You could have some severe weather there. You could also, if you're flying American, have issues through Charlotte. So we just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. For tomorrow, the severe weather threat shifts to the east. That's for coastal sections of South Carolina, Georgia, South Georgia, and Florida. And Connor, you were asking about the drought situation. That area that you see right now, outlook for severe storms tomorrow, it's a level 1 threat. But that's the area that is so desperate for rain down there. It's exceptional drought for that part of the area.
So it's good. It's a good thing. I mean, obviously, we don't want anyone to get hurt in a thunderstorm situation, but it's a good thing that
those
they're expecting
heavy rains
this.
will help down there. Yeah, for sure. So you take a look. The tornado potential is there. Just a level 1 threat versus the level kind of 3 or third tier elevation we see today farther west. So those are the kind of areas that we're most concerned with. I do want to just, again, quickly mention for Hampton Roads, we are looking at no severe weather threat, but we do have some rain across the area, and that shower activity, we need it ourselves. We will look for some light showers to push in. Looks like parts of Suffolk starting to see it. I knew we'd see some up on the peninsula. Question is, what holds together across the south side? I'd say a few isolated showers. Highs today, close to 80. Rain is coming later tonight and into tomorrow.
Okay, fantastic. That's Craig Moeller. Now, I could go for another 15 minutes with you about the Red Rock situation. Let's throw it to Sarah Calloway to see if that is allotted by our time constraints.
I would say let's do a Give Local update.
A Give Local update. That's a much better idea, per usual, from Sarah Calloway. Yesterday, we had one of our biggest charity days in the 757, Give Local 757. Our final number, over $1.5 million, $1,503,982 from over 15,000 donations, nearly 9,000 donors. And it was a really special day to be a part of. 262 nonprofits from right here in Hampton Roads will benefit directly from the money that you see on your screen. This will go back into our community right here in the 757. And so that might be the thing we love most about this initiative. Craig, you see that number. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, the number's actually very similar to what was raised last year. And that amount that is donated is stretched so far. It's fantastic. The big difference between this year and last year, look at the cost right now with gas prices and fuel costs going up, everything, cost of food going up, that you were still able to match last year in this current economic situation. Thank you, Hampton Roads. It's a huge, huge offering that you made, and I know that money is greatly received.
It's a testament to each and every one of you who donated. It's a testament to each and every one of you who might not have been in a position to donate on that very day, but watches and supports and tries to generally do good in our community. So we appreciate everybody for being a part of that day with us, and we're already looking forward to next year. Give Local 757 in the books, over $1.5 million to a lot of very good causes. Now, we are going to take a quick commercial break right here on Live Impact News. We have so much to get to when we get back, including a live event happening as we speak. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now Plus, 10:25 a.m. We just got done with our forecast. We're going to move into some of our major news updates here, and a really sad and scary story from aboard a cruise ship right now. This is the Dutch cruise ship, the MV Hondius. It departed on April 1st from Argentina en route for Antarctica, and what was supposed to be likely one of the more memorable trips of everyone aboard's lives has turned into a devastation, a disaster, and a deadly situation. There has been a hantavirus outbreak on this cruise ship. 3 passengers have died from the hantavirus. At least 4 have been sick during this outbreak. Now, the hantavirus typically will spread through inhaling contaminated rodent droppings. That's right, you heard that right. Very sort of strange origin for this particular virus. Inhaling contaminated rodent droppings is the typical manner by which hantavirus spreads. It's actually very, very rare that it spreads person to person. That does not usually happen with hantavirus, but it's not impossible. In terms of how this spread throughout the cruise ship, that's information that we don't totally have yet. But, of course, as we said, 3 people have passed away from this virus aboard this cruise ship. Now, there is work right now to rectify this situation and get everyone else off board safely. For one thing, teams of doctors, surgeons, nurses, and lab specialists have flown out to the ship to begin working on containing this virus and treating patients who need treatment. Now, 2 people in need of urgent medical care are to be evacuated from the cruise ship. And I see, yes, 2 people in need of urgent medical care, 1 person whose husband actually passed away from hantavirus will also be evacuated with that group. So 3 people in total will be evacuated. That's according to the World Health Organization. As for the rest of the people on board, the ship is expected to sail to the Spanish island of Tenerife, where health authorities will take over further investigations, lab testing, and clinical assessments. There are nearly 150 passengers and crew aboard this ship from 24 countries. There you see, this is video that we have of the ship out at sea. It has become a national news story here. A British man fell ill after the ship left St. Helene, one of the stops on this cruise, and he was evacuated to South Africa on April 27th. A German woman died a few days later, 4 days after becoming ill. Again, people can get hantavirus through contact with an infected rodent's saliva, urine, or droppings. And again, it usually doesn't spread person to person. So everyone sort of now awaits more details on how this all started and how the outbreak began aboard this cruise ship. It's something that we are going to likely see a demand for answers from and a serious investigation into upon making sure that everyone is safe who still is aboard that ship right now. So symptoms began. The ship sailed on for nearly 2 weeks after a 70-year-old Dutchman began showing symptoms on April 6th and died on board April 11th. So the ship set sail April 1st. On April 6th, a 70-year-old man began showing symptoms. He passed away on April 11th. The ship sailed on for nearly 2 weeks after that, stopping at St. Helena, where the man's body was then taken off the ship on April 24th. His wife also started showing symptoms, and she evacuated to South Africa. She died on April 26th. Another man fell ill after the ship left that port. He was evacuated to South Africa on April 27th. A German woman died a few days later, 4 days after falling ill. 2 other passengers have been or are being evacuated for serious medical attention. 1 other person is being evacuated after their partner passed away from hantavirus. So all of this happening right now as we speak. Now, this particular view of that cruise ship is live. This is a live look at the MV Hondius as it floats in the ocean. And from where we sit here, it's easy to look at that cruise ship and discuss what are very strange and unique circumstances. You can imagine how scary this situation has been for everybody aboard that ship. We do have some quotes here in an Associated Press article that is reporting on this story that do paint a picture of a group of more than 100 people who have made the best of this situation and who are doing their best to occupy the time and stay safe in the meantime. They've talked about being contained to their rooms. A lot of the sort of words that we all learned during the COVID pandemic: social distancing, masking up, isolation, and a lot of, as we can tell from some of these quotes, a lot of movies and time in the room and hoping for the best. So again, you set out on a cruise and it is expected to be one of the most special times of your life, and then this happens. It is frightening, it is tragic, and we can only hope for the best resolution possible going forward and the containment of this virus that, again, has taken the lives of 3 passengers aboard the MV Hondius. Okay, we're going to take a break here. When we get back, we actually have a very special guest in the studio. We are joined by 13 News Now's very own Derek Lytle to tell us about his process when he picks out his outfit each morning to come here into work. He also might discuss some stories that he's been covering here lately. I would say that'll probably be the primary topic. Derek Lytle coming up next. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now Plus. We're going to turn now to our special guest live in the studio, Derek Lytle. He's got a full workload today, an entire story to do, and yet he took some time to sit in here with us. First things first, before we go anywhere else, happy birthday, Derek.
Thanks, man.
Yesterday,
we're
Cinco
all
de
getting
Mayo.
older, man. I don't know what's going on.
Dude,
Time's flying.
We have been searching for a solution to that problem, and it just only seems to get worse.
I think everybody has for hundreds of years.
For hundreds of years, Ponce de Leon all the way to Derek Lytle on Live Impact News. We still are looking for the aging solution. Someone's got to talk to LeBron and feel like that guy's got it figured out.
Yeah.
The rest of us got work to do. Now, you had a very interesting story yesterday. It's a variation of a story that we've covered quite a bit over the last 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. If you want to introduce what you talked about, we can watch a little bit of the story, then we'll dive deeper into it.
Sure. I mean, we see, regardless of, technology advancing, the e-bike community just exploding, whether it's gas prices, people are looking for a cheaper way to commute to work, and also a fun thing that's more of a leisurely activity than your average bicycle. But they're exploding, whether it's here near Norfolk or in Virginia Beach on the ocean front. You're seeing bikes everywhere. So it's the talk of the story yesterday is just, what are the legalities on the ocean front, the boardwalk? And there is kind of a divisive territory right now with it because, I was out there yesterday on the boardwalk, and technically they're prohibited right now there, but you still see a good dozen when you're out there for even 10, 20 minutes. It's, I don't, you yourself, you like to get out and have a good time and get exercise in. I borrowed a buddy's e-bike for this story, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a fun thing to do. I was having a good time on the bike.
And
but,
in Norfolk, in other cities
yeah.
that I've visited, I've definitely taken advantage of those Lime scooters, and they have Lime e-bikes now, Bird scooters. I've definitely utilized those. It's been very helpful at times. Having been on them, I also can sort of testify to the fact that you have to really be alert, aware, and understanding of where you're at because they move.
Yeah, I'm even on that one. You can get up towards 30, 35 miles an hour. Some of them, and that's something where you're not just pedaling. You hit the brakes. That's got a mind of its own if you're not being careful on them, and that's where the conversation on the other side of the fence is like, hey, what are the regulations and rules here for the e-bikes? We're just going to have them sending it at 35 miles an hour down the boardwalk and then all of a sudden clothesline a kid or two, And the bigger thing is you have kids that are going to be 14, 18 years old that might not know the rules of the road just yet, and God forbid one of them gets hit by a car, but it's that side of the fence versus the people that, hey, I take it to work down the oceanfront every day, or I love riding the e-bike. So there's the two sides of it, and like how do we meet in the middle?
Right.
So right now it used to be banned on even Atlantic Avenue, right, across the street. And so last year, Deputy Chief with the police department was saying they implemented where you can ride it on Atlantic Avenue there to kind of give people an alternative route. But people are still riding it on the boardwalk all the time. And I'm like, how do you really enforce that?
Right.
And they said, well, it is community involvement and education, but they're not going to go track down every single person on an e-bike and ride them up.
It's impossible. Especially with if you're going from Atlantic over to the boardwalk, popping up to Pacific, there's no set area where it's like, okay, if we police this area, then we'll figure out this e-bike situation. They're all over the place. And, so there is no legal definition in terms of age requirements for those as of now. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, pretty much. But the only thing is helmets is 14 and under. So if you're over 14, you're not required to wear a helmet, and you have the same rules as a bike path. You can't just go willy-nilly on 264 and throw your e-bike out there.
Right.
There is an extent of it. But yeah, it's I think it's more of a gray area, Connor, because the technology keeps evolving with these things. Now we've got bikes. You can buy one of those puppies for $400, $500, and you're out there cruising at 35 miles an hour. I mean, with gas costing $405, $410. I wish I could take one from Virginia Beach here to Norfolk, but
and this is not a bicycle. This is
it's
a
high-powered
motorized vehicle. It can really move. Like that doesn't. Some of them you do pedal still, but then it just takes you.
Yeah.
And like you said, 30 miles an hour, maybe more. So this is not a bicycle. This thing can really move. And so much of the design of the oceanfront was done with bicycles in mind and those 4-person bicycle carts in mind. And now the advent of this new technology, everyone's scrambling to figure it out. Can I ask, we talk about, obviously we're monitoring the safety concerns that come with this. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits that come from e-bikes being a part of our community? Because there's another side to this as well.
Yeah, look, you got somebody that lives over, maybe take Virginia Beach, for example. They live on First Street, they might have a car, or family has a car, but, they got to get to work over on 34th Street or towards Bird Neck, something like that. Boom, you charge that thing up. The battery lasts, a good 3 to 4, 5 days. That gets you through your work week commute, and you're not paying anything at the gas pump. I think that's the biggest takeaway. The gas, I've seen gas up towards $4.30 now, and so you got people looking for that good way to commute. But also, people, their kids want to have fun, but they want to do it safely. So it's like Oh, these e-bikes. I'll tell you, the one that I was borrowing yesterday, that thing was at least 100 pounds, man. They're not easy to lift up and down. And I was trying to carry the camera equipment on the bike while trying to go shoot the stand-up. And
Were you solo yesterday?
I was solo dolo.
Wow, solo on the e-bike story.
Yeah.
That means, for everybody at home, that means no photographer. Derek went out and did this story. He shot the story. He did the interviews. He cut the story. He edited the story. Of course, he wrote the story. So solo on the e-bike story, you made it look really good. Just looking at
you
some
can
of this
see, like, I'm
here.
coming to the camera. I did, like, 5-6 times before I got it right. But
yeah, should we play a little bit of this package here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's take a look at what we got, what Derek did. Again, by himself, on his birthday. This is what we're working with.
With e-bikes growing in popularity here in Virginia Beach, it's posing the question, should they finally be allowed on the boardwalk? Well, a safety study and people on the other side say that that is a safety risk. The rush of the air, the convenience of a bike that can go up to 30 miles an hour without pedaling it. E-bikes growing in popularity on the Virginia Beach oceanfront.
Seen a very quick rise in the number of riders who are utilizing e-bikes.
Deputy Chief Brad Wessler with the Virginia Beach Police Department says the mayor-appointed task force has heard big interest from e-bike riders to allow them on the oceanfront boardwalk and bike path. Currently, they are prohibited.
We found that there are people on both sides of the aisle. Many people find the e-bikes beneficial for commuting. Right now, gas is up a little bit more than usual, so we're finding more and more citizens are using them to get to and from work.
He says they were also banned from Atlantic Avenue until just last year, when that was reversed. Wessler believes those opposed to allowing e-bikes by the boardwalk think it's a safety issue.
So we're seeing a few crashes, and that's starting to concern us, and we're changing our approach on that.
Wessler says while they welcome a healthy conversation about how to move forward, as of now, the police department sides with keeping them banned from the boardwalk.
A lot of people want to do that. It's just not safe. We have a lot of pedestrians, a lot of slow-moving traffic. We found that riding an e-bike was probably not the safest way to do that. So we'll probably stay strong in that approach and just move them over to Atlantic Avenue, which is a safer environment.
Derek Lytle, 13 News Now.
That was a great story, Derek. I mean, again, like you hit that perfect note of this is both entertaining, enjoyable to watch, and also extremely informative, and illuminates an issue that genuinely has two sides that each have a meaningful point of view. What's next in this situation?
Yeah, so they got a task force appointed by the mayor looking into should we allow them on the boardwalk. And, I think if we allow them and summertime happens, it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out with rollerblading, skateboard, everything you see out there. And hopefully people can have fun doing it and nobody gets hurt. But that's the kind of weight game that you see.
That's the weight game that you see. And there is, when you talk about parking at the oceanfront, it's like, it's free until, whatever date in the late spring. Mm-hmm. Could this be a situation where they say, look, e-bikes on the boardwalk, it's fine until April 15th or May 1st or when we know that busy season's going to begin? Is that an option here?
I think it could be, but then you have the problem of when it's nice weather, that's when people want to be out on their e-bikes.
Right.
Not when
You're
it's
not
snowing
out there in February riding your e-bike around.
Yeah, we've been out there covering the snowstorm on the ocean front.
Not a lot of e-bikes bopping around.
Not really, no.
Okay, that is Derek Lytle. Anything else you want to add, Derek?
No, we're golden.
Can you give a teaser to your story today?
Yeah. Virginia Beach Fire Department has a brand new state-of-the-art boat. It's going to help hopefully save a lot of people this summer. We're going to get out on that at Rudy's Inlet about lunchtime today, and we'll bring you that tonight. It's really cool. They have technology that lets them scan from farther distances, save more than one person at a time. So
very good.
Yeah.
Derek Lytle and one of our photographers, Luca Pfeiffer, out on Rudy Inlet. Look for that story 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on 13 News Now. Meanwhile, for us here on Live Impact News, we're going to take a commercial break. When we get back, plenty more to cover here. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. We are actually going to go live right now out to Washington, D.C. There's a press conference currently happening outside of the House Oversight Committee closed-door interview with Secretary Lutnick. Let's get out there before this ends. We'll take a listen in right now. We'll give more info when we get back.
Release the transcripts and everyone can see for themselves.
Just the transcript and no video.
And just to follow up on that, based on his description of events, do you have any concerns about the secretary's conflicting statements, and why not do this as a videotaped
Well,
interview?
this is with this transcript, he's coming in voluntarily, first of all. So we didn't video. We don't video people that come in voluntarily. We didn't video Ted Waite last week, but at the end of the day, the transcript's the most important thing. I assume there'll be Democrat members here today. If not, there'll be staffers. I know there was criticism. I read somewhere that a member or two was complaining that this was on a day when Congress wasn't in session. When this was scheduled, we were supposed to be in session. This week was flipped with King Charles last week. So when we scheduled this, he was supposed to be here. So, if you're interested in the investigation, you can come here. I missed my son's baseball game last night because I want to be here, obviously, for this interview, and hopefully we'll find out some more. And as the interview progresses, I'm sure I'll come out and give you an update. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you heard very briefly there, comment from elected officials about this Howard Lutnick situation. What is happening? What's going on here? Though this is the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Today, he is appearing before a House committee investigating convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Lawmakers are seeking answers for Lutnick's contact with Epstein in the years after 2008. In terms of that relationship, Lutnick has given conflicting statements in the past about his relationship. But he does say that he has done nothing wrong and welcomes the closed-door interviews with lawmakers. So currently that hearing is happening. That is why you are seeing a stakeout right outside of that hearing. It's something that we are going to continue to monitor as the day goes forward. And if we get more comment from elected officials, then we will bring that to you here on Live Impact News. Again, this is the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. He's appearing before a House committee. That House committee is investigating convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and Lutnick is being asked about contact he allegedly had with Epstein in the years after 2008. Lutnick says he has done nothing wrong and welcomes the closed-door interviews. Okay, we're going to take another quick commercial break here. When we get back, we are going to have an update on the war in Iran, including sound from Secretary of State Marco Rubio yesterday. Stay with us. All right, we return to the program here this morning with some breaking news, actually. Sad breaking news. CNN founder Ted Turner, a television pioneer to say the least, has passed away at the age of 87. You may also know him for stations like TNT, TBS, Turner Broadcasting, and then, of course, that 24-hour news channel, CNN, a revelation at the time. Ted Turner, again, has passed away at the age of 87. We're just going over this breaking news now with you live on air, but let's maybe dive into just a few more details about Ted Turner. Now, Turner has owned professional sports teams in Atlanta. In many respects, the rise of the Atlanta Braves in the 90s is closely tied to Ted Turner. He defended the America's Cup in yachting in 1977, donating a stunning $1 billion to United Nations charities over his life. He founded CNN in 1980, which has completely and totally transformed the news business, and his impact looms large still today when it comes to political news. In his later years, he did have Lewy body dementia. He's been out of television for some time, but he has maintained a focus on philanthropy. He also has more than 2 million acres of property, including the nation's largest bison herd. So a man of many interests, a man of many talents, and someone who, again, has had a monstrous impact on American society at large. He had a big personality. He had a serious business acumen. He founded Turner Broadcasting, which he sold to Time Warner in 1996, one of those massive media mergers that we see in the news even now today. And Ted Turner, at the age of 87, has passed away. This Associated Press article does describe his signature achievement as creating CNN. But again, he was someone who had many, many different areas of interest, expertise, and accomplishment. So Ted Turner passed away today at the age of 87. Rest in peace to Ted Turner. If we get any other sort of if we have anyone who's able to give insight into his life and legacy and they are giving comment, we'll take that here on Live Impact News. Now, let's continue with our coverage here. Let's shift our gears back to what we were planning on talking about in this particular block, and that is the war in Iran. Now, let's give a very quick update here. We have, as of this morning, an article from about 10:14 a.m. with phrasing that includes optimism towards the end of the war. The United States and Iran appear to be moving closer Wednesday to an initial agreement to end the war, as President Trump sought to pressure Tehran with threats of a new wave of bombing if a deal is not reached. Let's refer to Truth Social, Donald Trump's social media site, where he'll post many of his messages for a greater understanding of his viewpoint when it comes to these new developments. Of course, yesterday we spoke about Project Freedom, which was described as separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury, and was designed to help sort of chauffeur ships safely across the Strait of Hormuz. But 3 hours ago, President Trump posting, assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Thank you for your attention on this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So there's the threat that was mentioned, but also the sort of the reference to an agreement that may be close to being reached, or is at least in place, with some optimism towards finding that final agreement. So that is the newest update from today when it comes to the United States and Iran. Now, how has that affected global markets? Let's start with a more broad update, and then we'll focus in on some of the gas prices that we're seeing in the United States and here in Virginia. The update from the Associated Press is that oil prices down Wednesday, stock markets up Wednesday. This is a trend that we have seen consistently throughout the war in Iran. When there appears to be signs of peace, and especially signs of a more lasting peace, and even more so signs that the Strait of Hormuz could once again become open and available to commerce, we see oil prices go down and the stock market go up. Now, what we've seen throughout the course of the last 9 to 10 weeks is that will usually be temporary, as typically these updates have gone up and down in terms of confidence in a ceasefire and where this conflict has gone and how the Strait of Hormuz has opened and closed again. So for the time being, the price for a barrel of Brent crude oil, sank 5.8%. Down 5.8%, $115 early this week, $103.54 after we saw the new sort of updates come out that signaled there could be an opening of the Strait of Hormuz and a permanent end to the war. Now let's look at some of the gas prices that we're seeing here in the United States. We've learned from talking to Gas Buddy and talking to Patrick DeHaan that oftentimes these updates that we see on a global stage, the rise and fall of that Brent crude oil, that international standard that we follow, the trickle-down effects usually hit the pump later on. It's not immediate when it comes to how we are filling up our gas tanks. So you may not see the update that we gave today may not reflect in the prices we see right here. Let's dive into those prices. The national average, $4.48. That's as of May 5th. So that's as of yesterday. And as you can see, Virginia sits in that light blue range, which is on the lower end relative to some of what we see on the West Coast and the Northeast. Let's dive into Virginia here. $4.20 the average for Virginia. So well below that national average. However, if we compare it to what we've seen here recently, current average $4.28, $4.29 if you round up. That's up from May 4th, and it is certainly up from a week ago. A week ago, $4.09. Current average as of yesterday, $4.29. So up 20 cents a gallon if you include that rounding. Now, I do one more time, Sarah, if you could go down. I like to always make sure I reference a year ago, $3.01 if you round up. So while we may see decreases here, slight decreases or increases in this short span of time, we also want to acknowledge that a year ago, $3.01. That seems like another world entirely at this point. Okay, let's dive into some of these localities here. Virginia Beach, $4.20, though we do have an anecdotal note from Sarah. You saw some higher prices, some sort of shockingly high prices somewhere in Virginia Beach.
I saw there were two gas stations across from one another. Mm-hmm. One gas was still at $4.17, and then the gas station right across the street was at $4.29.
$4.29.
So I don't know if they just update their prices at different times, but I was very surprised by that.
Right.
I thought I was seeing things.
Did you do a double take?
I did a little. Well, I was like, I'm kind of far away. Let me drive a little closer and just check. And I was.
Let me go park in this parking lot. Perhaps I'll go get a snack. When I come out, I'll check the gas again. $4.29. I mean, a very elevated level for us here in Virginia, though we do, or in Hampton Roads, in Virginia Beach, though we do see that's not far off from, I am so sorry, Sarah. I've been drinking quite a bit of water today. That was really unfortunate. I apologize to everyone who is listening at home. Sarah, this is the hardest I've seen you laugh ever on a stream that we've done here. And now you've brought me up on camera. Don't bring me up on camera after that. Yeah, let's go back to the map. Okay, Chesapeake City, $4.19, $4.20 if you round up. And again, Virginia Beach right at $4.20. Now, you do see those elevated levels. As you get into the eastern shore, I believe that's the only part of our viewing area in Virginia that is sort of in the red. Though if we go over more inland here, let's take a look here. Do we have some maybe small parts of our area that are just in the red? Of course, northern Virginia, those really elevated levels, 443 in Loudoun, 446 in Fairfax, Arlington, 445. So that's all relatively consistent with each other, but that's right by Washington, D.C. Those are those elevated levels in that northern Virginia area. Can we check on the peninsula a bit here, Sarah? Can we do a little bit of a Hampton, 420, 421 with the rounding. Poquoson still, working into that red area as well. So these are relatively consistent at being above $4.20, though. There you take us right to York, where $4.18, so some relief in the York area. But again, we still see those elevated gas prices. Hopefully today's news leads to lower gas prices here for us. As we've heard, this is impacting people directly. Budgeting And especially with the summer coming up and people hoping to take vacations, it's not just that prices at the tank, prices at the pump are impacting how much money you have right now going forward, but of course it could impact your ability to travel later on. If you have a long road trip planned, that road trip suddenly has a much higher price tag. Quite frankly, that could result in higher price tags at the airport as well. So something that we'll keep a constant eye on. Let's dive into North Carolina now. What are we seeing in North Carolina, especially that northeast North Carolina area right in our viewing range? Let's see what we got. Currituck, 418, so more in that York range. Camden, one of the lower ones that we've seen here at 413. Pasquotank takes us right back to kind of what we have been seeing, and then pretty high in Gates right there, 434 in Gates. So really way up there in some parts of northeast North Carolina, though the eastern shore does appear to be sort of more similar to most of Hampton Roads. Hertford just over 420, 421. So again, you look back at a year ago, remember we talked about in Virginia a year ago it was $3. In North Carolina a year ago, $2.87. And now that current average, $4.21, which is up 21 cents from a week ago, much less from a year ago. Yes, sir.
I just want to say that North Carolina has typically been lower on the statewide average than Virginia for weeks now. And for whatever reason, now all of a sudden it's 1 cent higher than Virginia. And we're talking, when it was lower, it was like several cents lower, like 10 cents lower than Virginia for weeks. And now all of a sudden it's at 421, and I believe Virginia's 420. So I just thought that was interesting that now North Carolina is trending higher statewide than Virginia is.
And I think, we have Patrick DeHaan on quite often, and maybe that's something that we can ask him about next week when we talk to Patrick DeHaan from Gas Buddy, is why do we see maybe a surge in some states while other states hold steady? Okay, we're going to throw it to break now. I want to apologize again for the errors that we had in that segment. Hopefully that wasn't too nasty. And we're going to go to break now. We're going to recover here. We're going to take some self-care time. And when we come back, what do you say, Sarah? When we come back, will we take some time in this trial here as we work through the Jason Meade trial? The Jason Meade trial is live right now. But while we're on the topic of the war in Iran and gas prices, we do also have a press conference from Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. We may spend some time with that as well. Options here on Live Impact News. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News. We had a couple options as we were going to break. Sarah and I talked it out here, and we are going to go to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Now, this is the White House press briefing from yesterday evening, and typically this would be Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. Caroline Leavitt is on maternity leave right now, so it's Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Secretary of State taking the podium while we're in the midst of negotiation with Iran on a peaceful solution to the war is, it's interesting timing for Marco Rubio to be at the podium. Let's listen in on what he has to say here.
As you know, over the weekend, the president announced this Project Freedom, and the goal of it is to, frankly, if you want to talk about it, it's to rescue like almost 23,000 civilians from 87 different countries that are trapped inside of the Gulf and left for dead in the Persian Gulf by this Iranian regime. You know, for more than 2 months now, these innocent sailors and commercial crew members have been stranded out at sea because Iran is conducting something that's not just criminal. It's criminal for sure, but it's desperate and destructive, this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Nations from around the world, the overwhelming majority of whom are not even engaged in any military hostilities, are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade. These ships, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food, you start running out of potable water, essential supplies, and they're at the mercy of this piracy. What it is, it's piracy. And not only that, but some of them have seen, been open fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that, and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest, because they're unhappy with the quality of life or the lack of quality of life in Iran today. And so they're sitting ducks. They're isolated, they're starving, they're vulnerable, and at least 10 sailors have already died as a result of the civilian sailors. So already many nations privately and some publicly have asked the United States to help free their ships and to restore freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz and this critical artery of global trade. And so President Trump, as he always does, stepped up and answered the calls for their help. And he's directed the United States military to guide these stranded ships to safety, to provide a protective bubble under which they can operate and move product and get themselves out of there and out of harm's way. And this is the first step towards reopening the strait and bringing this regime's last-ditch act of economic arson, bringing that to a close. We're doing it not only because we were asked, but because we're the only ones who can. Only we have the power to sort of take the steps that we've taken now. Under this president, under President Trump, the United States will help our friends. We're going to stand up to rogue regimes like the one in Tehran, and we're going to be unashamed to use our power and our abilities to project military power in the service of our national interest above all else. Now, what's really important for you to report and for everyone to understand is this is not an offensive operation. This is a defensive operation. And what that means is very simple. There's no shooting unless we're shot at first. Okay? We're not attacking them. But if they're attacking us or they're attacking a ship, you need to respond to that. You're not going to let some fast boat come up on a ship and shoot it up. We're going to respond to it, and we've been successful at it. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know a number of those fast boats have now been targeted, and will continue to be if they pose a threat to our forces. We'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature. This is defensive. So if you hear stories about attacks and launching of firing back and forth, it's not back and forth. We are only responding if attacked first. This is a defensive operation. And that's what's occurring here. Just about the importance of the Straits for a moment. This is approximately a quarter of the world's oil trade, along with significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer that operate through the Straits of Hormuz. The Iranian regime cannot be allowed to dictate who uses this vital waterway. I don't think this is also being reported enough. Maybe you are reporting. I don't read everyone. I don't know many damn outlets here. I don't know who you all are, but I know who some of you are, but I don't know all of you are. But I will say this about it. This is an international waterway. Okay, this is an international waterway. And international law is very clear, and I love it because everybody always talks about international law, and this international law on this is very clear. International waterways, no country can control them. There is no international law that allows you to say, I'm going to put mines in an international body of water, and I'm going to blow up ships that don't listen to us and try to go through. That's what Iran is doing. This is a criminal act. And someone needs to do something about it. Something needs to be done. It's completely illegal, completely illegitimate, and completely unacceptable. And that's why the United States military is guiding stranded commercial ships safely through the strait and is working to restore freedom of navigation and putting an end to these efforts to hold the global economy hostage. So far, as a proof of concept and as a proof of function, 2 U.S. flag merchant ships have successfully transferred the Strait of Hormuz in the first stages of this project, and they're now safely on their way. The U.S. military is deploying the necessary assets to extend this defensive umbrella over commercial shipping. But there should be no mistake. And as I said this already, this is a defensive operation. I want to reiterate that point. This is important to understand. If no shots are fired at these ships and no shots are fired at us, we're not firing shots. But if we're fired on, we will respond, and we will respond with lethal efficiency. The assets supporting this project, by the way, include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 of the finest military service members on the planet. These forces have already destroyed, as I told you earlier, I thought it was 6, it's 7 Iranian fast boats that failed to heed our warnings. And by fast boats, we're talking about, some of these things look like Boston whalers. Okay, so these are not like Navy ships. But nonetheless, they come fast at these boats, try to swarm them, try to harm them. We're not going to let that happen. So 7 of them now sit at the bottom of the sea, along with, by the way, the rest of Iran's Navy. That's where you can find their Navy today. And we're going to continue to systematically clear this passageway through the straits to restore freedom of navigation. Now, while this project steadily progresses, Operation Economic Fury, continues to impose maximum pressure on the Iranian regime and what remains of their already frail economy. Today, inflation in Iran is 70%, and their currency is in total and complete freefall. U.S. sanctions enforcement is stepping up. It's moving in lockstep with the naval blockade to degrade Iran's capacity to generate, to move, and repatriate revenue. It directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. The blockade alone is costing Iran as much as $500 million a day in lost revenue. 90% of total Iranian trade has been halted, causing permanent damage to Iran's oil infrastructure as wells are forced to shut in. Again, all of this is in response to their piracy. Okay, it cannot be that you have these straits and they blow up any ship that moves and the only ships that get to go through are theirs. You can't have a situation in which the straits are closed to everyone else, but they benefit from the piracy. That can't happen. That's why the blockade is in place, and that's why these sanctions are crippling them. Any foreign financial, and by the way, Treasury is now identifying and cutting off every dollar of revenue that's flowing to this regime. And so, look, any foreign financial institution or commercial actor that enables Iran's sanctions evasion is going to face secondary sanctions exposure and a loss of access to the U.S. financial system. As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here. Every day the conflict continues, however, our leverage on Iran will continue to increase, and their position will continue to weaken, especially as the blockade really begins to bite in conjunction with the sanctions. So, look, the time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And apart from that, I mean, the top people in that government are, to say the least, they're insane in the brain. And so we need to address that, and it's difficult because it's hard to get past that in their system. But it's important for them to make a sensible choice and the one that's right for their people. The president, our president, has proven time and again that his preference is peace. But Iran must accept the reality of this situation and come to the negotiation table and accept terms that are good for them but ultimately good for the world. The diplomatic path, if there's a real diplomatic path, I'm not sure there's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. I know what the right choice is for Iran. I hope that the people over there making decisions will make the right one. The last point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose. And with that, it's time for your questions. So, Catherine, why don't we...
Okay, Marco Rubio with a great focus on the war in Iran during his opening statements, but now he has opened things up to questions from the press. So we are going to see a Q&A with the Secretary of State coming up right after this. Okay, let's go right back out to the White House upon our return from Live Impact News for the rest of the pre-recorded press briefing with Marco Rubio. What's up next? Question and answer with the gathered press in the room at the White House. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Catherine Herridge. I'm an independent journalist. Secretary Rubio, have you seen any recent indications that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear weapons program that is credible, verifiable, and that would lead to an immediate de-escalation?
Well, look, this is a long-standing problem for them, right? I mean, they have wanted, they have always said they don't want a nuclear weapon. That's because they've always said that, they just don't mean it. And why do you say, well, how do you know they don't mean it? Well, we don't mean it because they're doing all the things, and historically have tried to do all the things that you do if you want a nuclear weapons program. For example, they innovate and try to innovate long-range delivery missiles that now, in some cases, are capable of reaching much of Europe. They build these large underground centrifuges for enrichment activity. There are countries in the world that are involved in the enrichment business, but these guys do it in mountains and in caves and in hiding. They've always had secret components of their nuclear program undisclosed to the world, and we know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%, that they did so, and that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something that will make it clear that they're not interested in. One thing is to say we don't want a nuclear weapon. Another thing is to do the things that prove you don't want a nuclear weapon. By the way, if what Iran wants is a civilian nuclear program for power plants and stuff like that, there are a lot of countries in the world that have that, and they don't enrich. They import the enriched material. You know, they could have that if that's what they wanted, but they're not acting like that's what they wanted. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program. That's unacceptable. So that's the process we're engaged in now. To create, that's the object of this diplomacy, is to come up with some level of understanding about what are the topics that they've agreed to negotiate on. We don't have to have the actual agreement written out, and one day this is highly complex and highly technical. But we have to have a diplomatic solution that is very clear about the topics that they are willing to negotiate on and the extent and the concessions they're willing to make at the front end in order to make those talks worthwhile. That's what Stephen Jarrett and the whole team is working on, and I hope to have good news on it. That's the outcome we would prefer. That's the outcome we would have preferred a year ago. That's the outcome I think most of us would have preferred a long time ago. But that's not the option they've given us, given their activity. All right, there's no way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just going to press right in the middle, right there, you right there, yeah. Right in the back row.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to you next. I can't get everybody, you know that. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio.
Keep going right.
Welcome to the White House.
What's that?
Talking to me, sir?
Yeah, to you, yes, sir.
Thank you. I have two questions on two separate issues that come
Do they
under...
get two questions for these?
Two questions.
There's a lot of people in here.
That fall under your umbrella.
All right, well, you answer. You can ask me two questions. I'll give you one answer. Go
Thank
ahead.
you very much.
And I'll pick the one I like better.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The first has to do with the blockade. There are lawmakers from both parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question has to do with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships and put mines in the water. So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships. If everyone's ships are not getting out, your ships are not getting out either. That's not an act of war. That's a defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do. You know what is an act of war? Putting mines in the water. Why don't the members of Congress, whoever it is complaining about it, they should be all over that. These guys put mines in the water. That alone, mining in the water is illegal, period, under any circumstances, and they've done it. This is crazy stuff, but this is what they've done. On Cuba, oil blockade on Cuba. There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba, okay? Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela. Used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take like 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Cubans have decided, the Venezuelans have decided we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays, the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. Doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists, that's bad enough, but they're incompetent communists. The only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent one. And that's what, so incompetent communists run that country, they don't know how to fix it. They really don't. And we have 90 miles from our shores, a failed state that also happens to be friendly territory for some of our adversaries. So it's an unacceptable status quo, and we'll be addressing it, but not today. Okay. All right, let's go to the front, right there.
Secretary Rubio.
Yeah.
You are going to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Is this an attempt to smooth things over with the Pope, given the rhetoric between President Trump and Pope Leo?
No, I mean, it's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened. And no, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly. And we have shared concerns about religious freedom, freedom in different parts of the world. We'd love to talk to them about that. The topic of Cuba, you know, we gave Cuba $6 million of humanitarian aid, but obviously they won't let us distribute it. We distributed it through the church. We'd like to do more. We're willing to give more humanitarian aid to Cuba, by the way, distributed through the church, but the Cuban regime has to allow us to do it. They won't allow us to give their own people more humanitarian aid, and we're willing to do it through the church. So there's a lot to talk about.
And the president recently said that the Pope is endangering a lot of Catholics as a result of his rhetoric around the Iran war. Is that a sentiment
Well, I
you
don't
agree
think that's
with?
an accurate description of what he said. I think what the president basically said is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would use it against places that have a lot of Catholics and Christians and others, for that matter. It goes back to the central point. I think the president, without trying to speak for him, but I think I can characterize it this way. He doesn't understand why anybody, leave aside the Pope, the president, and I, for that matter, I think most people, I cannot understand why anyone would think that it's a good idea for Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon. Look what they're doing with the Straits right now. They're holding the whole world hostage. They have these sailors, you know, on commercial ships that are going to starve to death out there. They don't care. They don't care that this is melting down the economies around the world, even of their own allies. This is what they're doing with the Straits. What do you think they would do if they had a nuclear weapon? They would hold the world hostage with that nuclear weapon. That's what they would do. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now with the Straits. And I think the president's point is how anyone cannot see that as an unacceptable outcome and an unacceptable risk is beyond him. It's puzzling. And someone has to do something about it. The difference between this president and like the 6 presidents that preceded him were that he's the only one that's actually been willing to do something about it. Everyone says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but you got to do something about it at some point. And he's been willing to address that threat. And that's what he promised he would do when he got elected, by the way, is address threats like this.
Secretary.
Yeah, I wish I knew your names, guys. I apologize. Can you put name tags on?
Thank you so much, Mr.
Okay.
Secretary.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with Rudao Media Network.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, the President has said multiple times that weapons were provided to the Kurdish groups to pass on the Iranian people. However, Kurdish political parties and the regional government says they have not received such weapons. Even some claim these weapons remain in the U.S. base in the region. Can you clarify who those weapons were given to and whether you intend to retrieve them or still want to pass to the Iranian people?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what the president is expressing, and I think has repeatedly, is he wished the Iranian people had, you know, look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it, you're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself. You know, you've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And it's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it. By the way, this goes back, if you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys.
Okay, we return to the studio in the midst of listening in on Marco Rubio's White House press availability from yesterday because we've got breaking news here. We're still gathering all of the details on this, but according to Bill Malugin, a congressional correspondent for Fox News in Washington, D.C., according to a tweet from Bill Malugin, Fox News is on the scene in Portsmouth, Virginia, where the FBI is raiding the office of Virginia Senate President pro tempore Louise Lucas. Now, of course, as we know here in this area, Lucas is a Democrat, and we're also seeing reports that federal federal law enforcement sources tell Fox that this is in connection to a major corruption probe, and the FBI is serving multiple search warrants. Approved by a federal judge, these warrants are being served at her office and a next-door cannabis dispensary. There's more to come, according to this tweet from, again, Bill Malugin with correspondent Alex Hogan TV, who reports that Lucas just showed up on scene as the FBI searches her office. Again, this is a report coming from Bill Malugin, who is a congressional correspondent for Fox News in Washington, D.C. That is the source where we are getting the primary information that we're reporting to you now. So we wanted to make sure that we got across the airwaves and brought that news to you. Again, we do not know much more. We know that, again, the FBI is raiding the office of Virginia Senate President pro tempore Louise Lucas, and that this is news that is coming from, again, Fox News Washington, D.C. correspondent Bill Malugin. Now, we have a reporter from 13 News Now who is on their way to Louise Lucas's office as we speak. Madison Schlegel is headed to Louise Lucas's office right now to get boots on the ground and do some reporting on this story. We are looking out for updates to come from Madison as she gathers information and starts to learn more about what's happening and why it is happening. Again, according to Fox, the FBI is serving multiple search warrants approved by a federal judge at Louise Lucas's office. So that is what is happening right now. We know from our recent reporting here on Live Impact News that Lucas was a major sort of public how do I describe this? She was a major force in the Virginia redistricting referendum. She was very leadership-oriented when it came to that referendum. She was public in her comment after the yes votes won that referendum. So we have seen most recently Louise Lucas in the news prominently after the approval of that referendum by Virginia voters. So that was the most recent major story that we covered involving Virginia Senator Louise Lucas. She has been a prominent member of Virginia politics for some time now. She has been a prominent politician here in Hampton Roads for some time now. Again, Louise Lucas is a representative, a senator from right here in Hampton Roads who has a major amount of influence in the Virginia Senate. She is one of the longer tenured and, again, more influential members of that governing body here in Virginia. And again, she was more recently in the news for her sort of her support of the Virginia redistricting referendum and her public support of that referendum. So, Louise Lucas, now we are getting this breaking news from Fox News Washington, D.C. correspondent Bill Malugin that the FBI is raiding the office of Louise Lucas. Again, a Democrat, a Virginia senator, and one of the more influential members of Virginia state government, at least from all the reporting that we have done on this show over the course of the last year or so. Now, she, again, a long-tenured senator in Virginia, and again, a very public figure in Virginia, someone who will oftentimes stand up, whether it's on social media or via press conference and public comment, someone who will stand up for her position, her beliefs, and her goals as a senator. And she is very active on social media, and we are monitoring her social media to see if we do get comment from Senator Lucas in the midst of this happening. This is her bio page here on their government website. President pro tempore, a Democrat, a representative from District 18 from right here in Hampton Roads. Born in Portsmouth, Virginia, and has been, again, a very influential member of the state government here in Virginia, a very influential leader here in Hampton Roads, and a very prominent figure in Virginia politics for years and years now, and someone who holds a lot of power within the Virginia state government, and someone who, again, was very outspoken and public in her support of the redistricting referendum that recently passed in Virginia. And now we bring you this breaking news today of a raid at Louise Lucas's Portsmouth office. This, again, is information that has come from a Fox News Washington, D.C. correspondent, first reporting this, or reporting this at least very prominently on X.com. So we are monitoring this situation. Again, we have a reporter who is headed to the scene right now, a reporter who we know will try to get us updates as soon as possible, as she has made her way out to Portsmouth already. Madison Schlegel is on the road, headed to this story to try and get more information, more details, updates on what is happening and why. But again, Bill Malugin has included in his update that there is a FBI serving multiple search warrants approved by a federal judge, not just at Louise Lucas's office, but at a next-door cannabis dispensary. So this, again, is a story that we are bringing to you, breaking here live on Impact News, and a story that we will continue to cover here as we go through this live stream that we're doing right now. And again, we want to continue to state that we are gathering more information. We're gathering more details. We are reporting based on information that came from Bill Malugin, a Fox News Washington, D.C. correspondent on the scene in Portsmouth, and we have a reporter headed to that scene right now, where once again, federal law enforcement sources tell Fox News that this is in connection to a major corruption probe. That is the information that we are getting from Bill Malugin on X.com. So we are continuing to wait for Madison Schlegel to arrive on the scene, and we will hopefully have live reporting from her, or at least live updates coming into our station as she arrives at Louise Lucas's office. Now, we want to make sure we continue to state that Louise Lucas is a Democrat, and she is a prominent figure in Virginia politics, one of the more influential state senators here in Virginia, and someone who has been very outspoken about the redistricting referendum, and who was outspoken after yes votes came out as the winner in approving that redistricting referendum. Louise Lucas has been a very, very prominent public figure, politician, and representative right here in Hampton Roads. She has been vocal in reporting that we've done recently this year on wanting to make sure that data centers pay their fair share, as we have seen the increase in construction of data centers here in Virginia. Louise Lucas has been extremely vocal in wanting to make sure data centers pay their fair share. So a number of initiatives that she has been in the news for here recently. Now, producer Sarah Calloway, go ahead.
And we've been citing Fox News. We just got it confirmed from ABC as well.
Okay, so we just got the confirmation from ABC that we are, in fact, confirming this news from ABC. Again, we have been referring to reports from Fox News. We've been citing a report from Bill Malugin on X. Bill Malugin is a Washington, D.C. correspondent for Fox News. We have been citing his reporting on this. We now have confirmation from ABC that there is, in fact, an FBI raid happening at Louise Lucas's office right here in Hampton Roads that is happening right now. Now, this is something that we are going to continue reporting on here, and as we're doing so, we're going to continue with a constant search for new information, for confirmed information, for facts and updates that we can bring you live on air. Now, with that will come a great degree of in real time reporting and search for facts as we kind of are live on the air with you. That will also include Madison Schlegel, who is boots on the ground reporting on this right now, who we're looking out for updates for. So bear with us as we work to bring you every aspect of this breaking news as it develops. As we go through, we will continue to emphasize Louise Lucas's outsized role in Virginia politics and how much influence she has. We'll continue to note she is a Democrat who from right here in Hampton Roads, who again is a Virginia state senator and has been extremely vocal about the redistricting referendum that recently passed in Virginia. And she's also been in the news for being vocal about data centers paying their fair share. Now today we bring word of the FBI raiding the office of the Virginia Senate President pro tempore, confirmed by multiple multiple sources to ABC News as Louise Lucas is having her office raided as we speak by the FBI. And again, this is something that came across our desk 15 minutes ago. We got on the air as quickly as we could with this information. I'm going to bring producer Sarah Calloway back on. Sarah, we kind of have a constant flow of people and information in and out as we kind of bring these live updates to our viewing audience. Do we need to take a break, gather ourselves, and make sure that we are getting all of the most up-to-date information here, or are we good to keep going?
I think we can keep going. Madison Schlegel is there at the scene. They're getting their shot ready, so we can go to her fairly soon. In the meantime, we can talk more about, Louise Lucas and her history in the Senate. Right now, she is on the Finance and Appropriations Committee. She's the chair of that, Commerce and Labor, Education and Health Committee, and the Rules Committee.
And just listening to Sarah Calloway reel off those committees and how important those committees are, you can get a sense of how influential Louise Lucas is as a senator here in Virginia. Now, it does look like our shot is up out at the scene. Our camera has officially kind of been set up here. Our photographer is getting things focused, and then we'll take that shot live here in just a moment. Now, in the meantime, Sarah, if we maybe could pull up Louise Lucas's Twitter, her x.com page, where she is very active, and she posts frequently and honestly about any number of topics. If we could maybe pull that up and just see if there's anything that she has said recently that kind of can give any insight into what she's been working on or where she's been. And then whenever you're ready, Sarah, maybe we can also take, I know I'm asking you for 2-3 things at once here. I do apologize. We can maybe take this live look at the scene of her office in Portsmouth. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the green light from Madison.
Okay, we're still waiting on Madison to give the green light. So what we'll do is we'll look at Louise Lucas's X page here, where again, she will post frequently and speak directly to her constituents and to people here in Virginia. So again, President pro tempore of the Senate of Virginia. She represents the 18th District right here in Hampton Roads and is chair of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee, among other committees. Now, I do see Madison here. Are we going to go to Madison live here? It appears as though she is up.
We're going to go on the air. So right now we're streaming. We're going to go on to the air.
Okay. We're going to go on to the air here, and we're waiting to take Madison still?
Yeah, so let's pause.
She's ready. Okay. Wonderful. We were going to toss it over to Madison Schlegel in just a second. Madison, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. We got the thumbs up from Madison Schlegel. Madison Schlegel is at the scene at Louise Lucas's offices in Portsmouth, which are currently being raided by the FBI. We want to welcome everybody into a 13 News Now special report here. We've spent about 15 minutes reporting on an FBI raid happening at Louise Lucas's office. This is breaking news here today. We're in our live Impact News studios, but we come to you now on air in the midst of our coverage of, again, an FBI raid happening at State Senator Louise Lucas's office in Portsmouth, Virginia. She is the president pro tempore of the Senate of Virginia. She represents the 18th District right here in Hampton Roads and is chair of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee, a very, very influential voice here in Virginia politics and in Hampton Roads politics. She has been in the news recently for giving public comment supporting the redistricting referendum that recently passed through in a special election here in Virginia. And now we are going to go live out to the scene of Louise Lucas's office, where there is an FBI raid happening as we speak. Madison Schlegel is live on scene. Madison, thanks for joining us. And just what can you tell us at this point?
Yeah, we're standing along Elm right now, and as you can see behind me, this is where the action is happening. Behind us, we've got multiple FBI units. Truly, we're just steps away from where this action is happening, but like you said, Connor, what we know right now is very limited. But what we can see is we've got this white vehicle right here that's got some FBI agents inside of it. You can see that those agents are working inside of that vehicle right now. We've also seen agents come in and out of this building that they're parked in front of. That's the cannabis outlet. That's right next to Senator Louise Lucas's office. So in front of that office right now and in front of that cannabis shop, what we can see is that we've got 1, 2, 3 black trucks, SUVs parked out here. There's also that tactical gear that you see as well, that green FBI vehicle that has had agents coming in and out of it. They do have this entire parking lot that is marked off right now with tape, so you can't get any further than where we are right now. We truly are as close as we can get to the action that's happening. We've also got some agents that are blocking off entrances right over here to the left of us. As you can see, Luca's going to pan over here to show you where they're blocking off some more traffic here. But we haven't heard any word from any of the officials that are on the street, but this is drawing a little bit of a presence for the people in the community. Again, Connor, like you had mentioned, Senator Lucas is a very affluent person in this community, and she is very known to be a stir maker of some political issues as well. But we've got people in the community who are out here watching this. I want Luca to pan over here to the streets for you. We've got some people standing in a parking lot across the street. We've got a locksmith's company across the street and a couple other different buildings. But as you can see, we've got some people out here with their cell phones that are watching what's going on. You've got people standing here talking with others in cars, just wondering what's happening, just like we are right now. But again, this scene is very active. The information that we have is limited, but what we do know is that it was confirmed that right now they are investigating Senator Louise Lucas's office in an investigation of which right now is unknown to us, but we're working to find that information and reach out to FBI spokespeople right now to get a little bit more word on what's going on. But once again, right here behind me, this is where the bulk of the action is right now, and this is what you guys want to see right now. For all the people at home who are wondering what that FBI presence looks like right now, again, we've got 4 or 5 different trucks in this parking lot, all marked officers here as well. All of those marked officers that we've seen have been FBI marked officers as well. So we'll stay on top of what's going on and unfolding over here in Portsmouth, but for the latest, we're live right here.
Okay, Madison, if I could hold on to you for just a second here and ask a couple questions. You did a great job describing that, and I know information is so limited right now. But in terms of what you're seeing, and if you mentioned this, I apologize, do we see agents going in and out of the office itself? Is that a part of what you guys are seeing out there?
Yeah, we've seen both of which. We've seen officers coming in and out of the office as well as of this cannabis shop that's right here next door. So it's not just the senator's office, but a little bit of that business as well.
And that is some reporting that we saw. So the cannabis office has officers going in and out of that office as well. Now, when it comes to sort of how this investigation is being conducted, does there appear to be any representative for Louise Lucas and her team out there right now? Is anyone interacting with law enforcement that appears to be a part of her team?
Yeah, we've heard through Fox News that Senator Louise Lucas has been out here and on scene. As for if we have seen her personally, we have not seen her or her team yet. We literally just pulled up the shot and got here on camera for you guys. So we haven't really been able to put our boots on the ground to start asking Senator Louise Lucas's team if whether or not they've confronted what's happening here or if whether or not they can give us a statement on what's happening, because we wanted to bring you guys the scene as it's unfolding and as we're seeing it live. But again, we're going to work here on the ground to figure out from FBI and Senator Louise Lucas's office about what this investigation seems to stem from.
And is there any local law enforcement out there at all? Do you see any local police or sheriff's deputies?
No, honestly, I'll move out of the way here again so that Luca can give you a better shot here. And we haven't seen any local law enforcement. Again, the only marked vehicle that we do see in this parking lot is that green tactical truck that you see in front of you. Every other car that we see in this parking lot right now is unmarked. So those are those black SUVs, those SUVs that are also blocking off the entrance points to this parking lot. I think we've got one other silver small car that's here parked in the back parking lot of the buildings as well. Luca's going to keep giving you a look over there, but I'm going to take a couple steps over here to see from the front of the building if there's anything different that's changed from when we've gotten here. No. Everything looks the same, just like we've told you. I do see officers coming in and out of this cannabis outlet building. Again, we're going to work to bring you guys closer, but there's no other local law enforcement here. Every other car, except for that green marked tactical truck, is the only marked vehicle that's here. So again, I think we're only working with FBI forces here. We're going to have to do a little bit more working to get some confirmation on that. But again, we're just bringing you this scene live as we see it.
All right, Madison, we really appreciate it. The updates have been great. You guys are doing a great job. I know you have a lot of work to do to get ready for our noon show here on 13 News Now. So good luck with all of your work, and we hope to hear from you again on 13 News Now at noon.
Thanks.
All right, Madison Schlegel on scene. She had just arrived on the scene here. She came to us here on Live Impact News right away as soon as she got there, and now she will truly start to investigate this situation and figure out what is going on, why it's going on. You heard that there were agents going in and out of the cannabis shop next door to Louise Lucas's office as well. She did mention how there were people from the community starting to kind of gather in the surrounding area. Again, hard to overstate how influential of a figure Louise Lucas is here in not just Hampton Roads, but the state of Virginia at large. She is a political leader here in Virginia. She is a vocal leader here in Virginia who holds a lot of influence and a lot of power in the Virginia State Senate. And again, most recently was very much in our news and really in news across the country as a vocal supporter of the redistricting referendum, a referendum that ultimately did pass based on the vote of the Virginia electorate. And the day after that referendum passed, she and Don Scott were the voices giving a press conference to discuss that vote. Again, she was prior to the redistricting referendum, she was very prominently in the news in the fight regarding data centers and ensuring that data centers were paying their fair share as more and more data centers are being considered for construction here in Virginia. So Louise Lucas, again, an FBI raid at her office in Portsmouth. That is the breaking news that we are bringing to you now on air that we've been discussing for about the last 25 to 30 minutes. This came across our desk in the midst of our show here, and we've been working to get you updates while live on air. And as you can see, our photographer is gathering footage, and right now they are on the scene getting footage, talking to people, trying to get more information. We have 13 News Now at noon coming up in just 11 minutes here, and we'll see if we can get more reporting for you in 13 News Now at noon on that show on our linear broadcast network right here. For now on Live Impact News, we're going to continue to monitor this situation. We're going to keep pursuing facts and information in regards to this particular story, but we wanted to bring you that update as soon as we possibly could. We're going to take a break here. We'll be right back on Live Impact News. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. We continue with the breaking news of the afternoon here. Reports that federal officials are raiding the Portsmouth office of Virginia Senator Louise Lucas. Multiple sources confirmed this to ABC News, and we now have a reporter on the ground at her office who we just visited with live. Madison Schlegel is there, and they are witnessing agents going in and out of that office and of the cannabis shop next to the office. Go ahead, Sarah.
We have a statement from the FBI now in email.
Okay, we have a statement from the FBI. I will pull that up in my inbox, and then we can move forward with some of our breaking coverage here. Okay, I'm going to read this. This is courtesy of Madison Schlegel, who got in touch with the FBI to get this statement. Quote, "The FBI is executing a court-authorized federal search warrant in Portsmouth, Virginia. There is no threat to public safety. This is an ongoing investigation, and no further information is publicly available at this time." So that is the statement from the FBI. No mention of Louise Lucas, of course, by name there, and no mention of their goal or of what their investigation is about, just that there is an investigation. It is court authorized by a federal search warrant, and there is no threat to public safety. But Madison Schlegel tells us that she has been seeing agents going in and out of Louise Lucas's offices and in and out of the cannabis shop that is next door to Louise Lucas's offices. Now, again, we don't have any context around what they're looking for or why they are going into both her office and the cannabis shop, other than the fact that there is an ongoing investigation that is court authorized by a federal search warrant, and this happening now in Portsmouth, Virginia. What you see on your screen is a live look. This is live right now. Currently, our photographer set up as close as he can. Luca Pfeiffer, boots on the ground with Madison Schlegel, set up as close as he can. As you can see, two agents who have just walked off screen, and you do see what appears to be an FBI truck there. Yeah, it does have the label on the back of the truck there. Now, there are two other vehicles in the shot, but I do not know what those vehicles are or if they're involved. But that green vehicle clearly marked FBI in multiple places, and so we do see at least one FBI vehicle there. Now, Madison Schlegel told us they don't see local law enforcement. Now, they can only get so close to this section. Multiple parts of the area. There's an agent walking sort of directly in front of the camera on the phone there. Again, they can only get so close. You do see another agent sitting in the back of that truck. And this is prior video that we have of Louise Lucas also playing on your screen right now. So we get confirmation first from ABC, the network, then Madison Schlegel, whose boots were on the ground, and now from an FBI statement that has been emailed to our station. But that FBI statement stops short of mentioning Louise Lucas by name or giving any details as to what is being investigated, only that an investigation is ongoing and that it is authorized by a federal search warrant. So let's revisit the context here. Let's talk about Louise Lucas again as a politician here in Virginia, a very influential politician here in Virginia, a long-term elected official in the state government, a vocal elected official who will oftentimes speak directly to her constituents and to Virginians on X.com through her own posts, the chair of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee, which obviously is a committee that has a great deal of impact and influence as well, the president pro tempore of the Senate in Virginia. Now, two major stories that she has been in our reporting for over the course of at least the beginning of 2026. Number one, the redistricting referendum here in Virginia, in which maps were redrawn to favor Democrats. Lucas, of course, is a Democrat herself. Those maps, the redrawing of those maps went to a vote. They were approved by the Virginia electorate. Louise Lucas was vocal in her support of that referendum. She and Don Scott gave the press conference following the win in that election, discussing what had happened. So Louise Lucas, a major part of that story. She also had been in the news prior to that for being vocal about data centers and wanting data centers to pay their fair price as construction of data centers continued to grow here in Virginia. So those are the two stories very recently that we have reported on that directly involved Louise Lucas. Now we report today on breaking news that her offices in Portsmouth are being raided by the FBI, something that Madison Schlegel has seen firsthand with boots on the ground at those offices. This is something that we are going to continue with. Yes, Sarah. Okay, we got 1 minute left here in this particular stream on Live Impact News. But as soon as our broadcast ends, as soon as our stream ends, 13 News Now at noon will begin on ABC, on 13 News Now, our linear broadcast. And I find it highly likely that Madison Schlegel will be leading that broadcast with an update from the ground in Portsmouth. So please go on over to Channel 13 for more on this story. This is a breaking news story that happened while we were in the midst of our stream. We've been gathering information as quickly as we can, and no doubt Madison Schlegel is doing the same thing on site at Louise Lucas's offices in Portsmouth right now as we speak. Now, we got about 15 seconds here. We want to thank everybody for joining us on this edition of Live Impact News. We want to thank everybody for sticking with us as we tried to find information live in real time. We'll continue reporting on this on Live Impact News at 1 o'clock. For now, 13 News Now at noon begins right now.